Hey, fellow Glitch Techs, this is Eric Robles here. And oh my gosh, it's been 4 years. Can you guys believe it? 4 years since we premiered the show. And you guys have been amazing. Your support, your love, and just enjoying this awesome thing that we did. It just means so much to us and for our crew that still talks about it to this day. I mean, I got some of my team on my newest project and I brought them over because I'm like, man, this team is so awesome. And the fact that you guys have enjoyed Glitch Techs for these last 4 years truly is a blessing. And it's actually the way that we wanted it to be. We wanted to share this with the world and it feel like you guys are on this journey with Miko and Five. And, we have so many other ideas that we want to do with this project. But, it is what it is. We got to season 2. We do have a secret season 3. So Nickelodeon someday, hopefully they'll let that out and let us show you what our plans were with Glitch Techs. But for now, continue to enjoy the show. It really helps us out and keep the awareness of the show out there by you guys sharing it, talking about it, and everything that you guys continue to do. So that being said, thank you guys, thank you guys, thank you guys, and keep enjoying Glitch Techs, and we'll see what happens.
Happy 4th anniversary, Glitch Techs fans. It's me, Seeking the Sky for New Game Plus, and today we've got Dan. Dan, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Dan Milano, one of the makers of Glitch Techs, and let's get this going. I believe introductions are in order. I'm Seeking the Sky. I started this whole group thing, and you're Dan. You started the whole thing, and Survivor.
Pleasure to meet ya.
And Survivor and I have been fans for literally years. We started with this crazy crossover thing, as I told you earlier. It's the whole Glitch Techs Stargate thing. It was silly. And Diamond is another one of our OGs, and so is the resident uncle, as we call him.
Uncle Fezder, longtime Glitch Techs fan since from the start. I'm also a writer and aspiring novelist. Thank you very much.
And we've got my bro who's hosting this video. He's the one who's not talking over the mic. What else? Yeah, you're being very generous with your time, giving us a whole hour to do this whole Q&A thing, and I am very grateful for it.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you guys so much for doing this, and we appreciate your audience so much. Like, it's weird, but we feel like we are part of you. Like, the line between us blurs because we're not afraid to say, like, we are sloppy fans of our own show. We're just so proud, and we see so many fingerprints when we look at it. It's like visiting old friends that, like, we are. Like, I want my own autograph, you know what I mean? That sounds egotistical, but what I really wanted was storyboard artists' autographs. That's really what I mean. And we did, and we got them. Like, we just are fans of each other and proud of what we made. So we appreciate you guys, like, because, as you know, the show is still not widely known. So it's even more special to all of us because it's kind of our secret.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing that when a creator actually has the opportunity to give some access to the fans. It's rare in the industry. There's not many that I know that will do it except outside of conventions. So thank you very much, Mr. Milano. We do appreciate it.
That's not the generation you or I grew up with. Like, it was
no.
You were lucky if there was a convention or something. But those barely existed when I was a kid.
Exactly.
And now
I didn't even know they were holding conventions until, just to give by example, Empire of Dreams. I mean, they made a mention of the comic convention out in California when they first, introduced Star Wars back in '77. It's amazing to see how far we've come as far as for fan communities and such.
Yeah.
I think
better
part
or
also,
worse?
part of that's also, sorry, pardon me. I
Yeah,
think
go
part of
ahead.
that can be part of it can be attributed to all the new technology that's coming out. Like people back in the 70s and 80s didn't have Zoom, they didn't have Discord, they didn't have means of like just bam connect talking to people over thousands of miles across using the internet.
You can only see
So I think
video calls and movies.
technological innovations are a big part of this. Like we wouldn't be having this conversation if it weren't for Discord or people who pioneered that sort of technology. So that's not even
Exactly.
about.
Very true.
That's kind of what the show was really about and more what it was becoming, because I think the gimmick that got it sold to the network was like, it's kids in video games, but what we really wanted to do is focus on tech, like all tech, like have Hinobi make literally every kind of product so that you can just really celebrate technology in general. So we were talking about doing an episode where like Five says something crappy online about this game that he can't stand, but like he has a interaction. He's able to have an interaction with the people who made the game and find out like, one guy doesn't control the whole thing, and like just ways to through the lens of fandom and technology, like try to show all the ways that we're connecting, and then all the positive and negatives that can come of it. That was like a story that I think never got past a paragraph, but it was something that we definitely still want to do.
So much possibilities.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, it would have been great because we would have had a fan who was disgruntled saying, I don't like blank. And then you would have had a creator saying, like, that's fair. And I even agree. But here's what my situation is. And like these two things can be true. Like you can have a problem with what I did, and you can also not completely blame me for it, because I literally work with 10,000 other people who affect these decisions. And we thought that would have been a nice way to address the fact that we all kind of love the same thing. We're both passionate, but it's almost impossible to really see it from, the opposite end. Like the closest I came to that was meeting George Lucas on a project that I did with the Robot Chicken gang, and realizing like, oh, he's just this nerdy guy on the spectrum who sees Star Wars as like his senior thesis film that he never quite got right. Like, and he doesn't understand why we're so precious. And it's like, how can he not get that? But then when I humanize him, I realize like, oh, well, because he's stuck in his freaking head. And that's just how it is.
Okay. So
Long answers and you haven't even asked a question.
I lost you.
Yeah. Said that was a long answer and you haven't even asked a question yet.
Yeah,
I
so
think it's a good introduction.
yeah, anyways, I really hope we get to do more stuff like this.
Most definitely.
Us too.
Okay. Oh geez, it looks like your internet's lagging a little bit. Your image is frozen. Okay.
Mine? I did nothing.
Okay, it looks like we're good to go.
Because we're
Okay, so
okay.
let the nerd out begin. Okay. Alright, so Mr. Dan Milano. Question number 1 is, when was Hinobi first founded? And on that note, where was it founded, and if applicable, where is its central headquarters in the present day?
So here's the thing about lore. I can and can't answer those things. I'm not protecting some like really elusive secret. Like I could say Massapequa, New York, right? But is where it began, and it began in like 1967, okay? But I'm literally just pulling those out of what I remember us generally talking about. There's no Bible that contains those hard facts yet, because it's not that we aren't prepared or just don't know. We have some ideas, but we think, at least for our show, that it's important for us to know what we want the show to be about and ultimately where we want the characters to go, but not to have it all written and just be slaves to this Bible. Because what Eric and I thrive on is the creativity of all the people we work with. And it's been my experience these last 20 years that if you have a Bible, and when somebody says, oh, what if they go to California for a reunion at the company, and we're like, oh, sorry, it says it's in Massapequa, New York. Can't do that. really cool idea, but can't do it. So we don't do that. We keep it loose.
Sort of reminds.
So it's very difficult to answer like deep fact questions, not hiding them. Like we have a lot of conceptual answers, but we have not ironed out in burnt steel like what all the dates and figures are. I hope
Alright.
that's not too disappointing. I'm trying to explain why.
Yes.
No, it makes sense. I mean, from a writer's standpoint, I mean, I've seen series Bibles from shows back in the 1970s and 80s and whatnot. Things from like, you know, He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Megas XLR, and many other series.
Star Trek.
And yeah, Star Trek animated series too. And it's like, once you have those hard facts put down, I agree with Dan. You're basically locked into that. And if it's coming up with fresh new spins to take on, you know, as the series progresses, you know, it can be limiting. So
Yeah, they call it support material because it's there to support us, not to dictate. But of course, Eric and I choose how we run our show. We're two collaborative co-creators who really like to involve our entire team. There is such a thing as like an auteur creator who is the only person with the answers, like a George Lucas who like supposedly knows everything. But having mentioned him already, I can tell you he makes a ton of it up as he goes, for sure. He
Indeed.
just pretends
don't
not
know
to.
Yoda's race yet.
Yeah, you know
But,
this.
I mean, but the point is taken.
Talking
Yeah,
about this.
midichlorians, yeah.
Yeah, talking about this sort of reminds me of this old Glitch Text Bible thing that leaked a while back, and it included these characters. Posting them on the group DM right now.
Oh, I love that you're showing stuff. Yeah, Woz. Oh my god, that's supposed to be like Steve Wozniak.
Yeah.
Right.
Kenobi's upper echelons or something, if I'm pronouncing
Okay,
that
so
right.
I can tell you this lore.
Wait, it's got the was?
What we retained was the idea that there was sort of like in Aliens, you know, Wayland Yutani, right? Okay, there was a Wayland and there was a Yutani, which was also made up like 3 films into that crazy franchise. But we decided that there were 2 guys that founded the company initially. And one of them was like the games person, and the other one was like more the technology person. And they were very close, but tried to follow aspects of real life stories of like various companies like Microsoft and Apple and a bunch of game companies that we had friends working at, where we were going to show that these 2 personalities like split at some point, and there's elements of both of them in the tech. And that's the thing that ultimately is the reason why things got out of hand. Like the wrong people got control.
Yeah, so
And
then
that goes back to this, but it's totally different than what anything we could have thought of when we were here. All we knew is we had these two people, very different.
so the
kind of
nerd in the
personality.
suit had a little falling out, and things really went south.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
we tackled 2 questions in one. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? Okay.
Okay, yeah. I think this one's mine.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can answer. Alright, so.
Nice.
How was Pixel initially developed? And on that note, how big is a single pixel, and what does it actually look like?
Single pixel is like nanoscopic in size, and so it's not easy to be seen with the naked eye. And its appearance would really be, if we could blow it up, we think it would be like the Ping cube. It's like essentially a voxel, a 3D pixel, except it's reduced down to the size of like a cell, you know, like a human cell.
Okay.
And that was the concept that allowed us the kind of going in that allowed us the reason why we could potentially create all these really amazing things and have them be physically real in our world.
On that note,
Part of the lighting.
I also made this little study image. Basically, what I imagined a pixel to actually look like up close.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is an example of the kind of thing we would do. We would have a discussion with our designers in the room. We might pull images like this, like you did. Oh, here's something from Steven Universe, and here's something that Eric drew on a cocktail napkin. And then we would give them all that material and have them come back with some ideas. You know, sometimes Eric and I knew exactly what we wanted things to look like. Like, we definitely knew what we wanted the gauntlets to be right away. But most of the things we tried to give the designers room to invent something. And so this looks to me like what a designer would be presenting us, you know, like the logic of how they put it together.
And perhaps how the
Totally
Plixels,
valid.
or even how the Plixels were first invented. That would be an interesting thing to investigate.
Yes, we do have lore as to why that was done. Why the company created Pixels in the first place is definitely something we have the answer to.
Yeah, but I'm guessing it's not something you can disclose at this time.
I can say it wasn't for nefarious reasons, like it wasn't some military project that got out of hand, and it also wasn't really done for games. It was done for a third and much more like personal reason.
Interesting.
Kind of makes me think of I had a discussion with some of the guys over this a while back. My theory was that the Plixels actually came about because of a happy accident. Can that be?
There's an element of that. There was intention in what was created, but we did talk about an element of accident to it as well. Yeah, but it's not like a total fluke. They knew what they were doing, or what they were trying to do.
All right. So, next question. So, this is from Survivor. I'm gonna read it out loud. Since the glitch crisis didn't emerge from nowhere. Huh? What, Survivor?
Since
It's
the
a bit of
crisis
a lengthy one. It's a bit of a lengthy one. So,
Yeah, it's a slightly longer question. So, since the glitch crisis didn't emerge from nowhere, Hinobi probably had the ability to, or at the very least, pull their glitch-prone product from the shelves before things got out of hand. They probably also could have come up with a decent alibi to explain it away to the public. So, assuming they had the opportunity to either tell the world of their tech or pull their tech off the shelves, why didn't they go with either and instead choose the more questionable, more troublesome option of forming the glitch text to address it? Basically, TLDR, why didn't Hinobi just pull their tech from the shelves when they knew the glitches were a problem?
That's a question that you should ask a lot of tech companies and game companies. Why do they release a game when they know full well that like that the ending level is janked or that the glitches are like severe? They release them anyway.
Well, this is
We've all played them.
This is a whole new level of bad. I mean, glitches
And
can
they try to patch it. There are companies that release medical equipment that may not completely work, but they release it anyway. And they have reasons for it. I don't agree with them. But Hinobi is just another company, and they don't always make the right decisions depending on who's got the final word. We never saw Hinobi as a completely nefarious company. I want to make that clear. But things do get out of hand. And, you know, thinking about
I missed that.
the melodies that you would hope they would. Also, this is a fan opportunity. I have said, I believe more than once, in some of the Q&A forums, how Hinobi handled telling the public about Plixel glitches. And if anyone can remember that, I'm gonna send you like a framed poster. Or a poster, I don't have a frame. Because I did let that out of the bag.
Well, I actually have like archives of all the Q&As from Discord, but one of the Glitch Text Discord servers got nuked, and there's no way to retrieve what was there other than what I already have.
I'll have to wait for another Q&A then, I guess, but I'm gonna give other fans a chance.
Okay, so that's that.
Definitely. They definitely covered themselves. They definitely covered themselves so that customers couldn't just like sue them.
I mean, with MindWipe technology, that's probably cinch.
It's one of the ways, but it doesn't always work. We can see that that's a situation they have to deal with quite often.
Okay.
It's not an infallible
I guess we can
process.
I guess we can kind of skip the fourth question because it's pretty much because I think Dan pretty much answered that one. So I guess we skip to question 27. Although I'm not sure if he can answer that either.
Okay. Yeah, this is probably one you might not be able to answer. It's how many people are employed by Hinobi in the present day, and how many of them are active glitch techs? Probably something that's still up in the air.
Oh, well, I can't give exact numbers, but I can tell you by now it's absolutely a worldwide corporation. And our idea was that there would be glitch tech stores in almost like every town. I mean, it would just be like Best Buy or the Apple Store. I mean, you might even have some in the same town if there were two different malls across the way that had different techs. They're probably run by the same manager because they're so close together. That's why we wanted to introduce the Dabney techs to sort of say, hey, look, it's not just, this one store. There's stores everywhere, just like there's Best Buys everywhere. So they have employees like on a global scale.
I'd think if there were multiple Hinobi stores in a single town, they'd probably link up to the same HQ.
Yeah, we used to talk about a portal that connected them from, they just connected the two stores are across town, but you could portal between them.
Yeah, if I made a GlitchTex fan game with my bro, we'd probably do that very thing.
Most likely.
That was another one of my theories. I always had a feeling that every glitch tech store had to be connected in some way. It was either I actually had a small idea in a fan fiction. There was a recent series called G.I. Joe Renegades, and they reimagined Cobra as a global organization, and somehow Cobra was able to create a network of underground maglev trains that connected all of their stores in the greater American continent. And I was thinking, like, well, GlitchTex, the Hinobi created portal technology. Certainly that's the way they could connect their stores. So...
Yes, and then they have other means as well. I mean, when the techs unload their gauntlets, they're unloading them actually into like a national depository. That's the idea. And the unreleased episode Tower Defensive, I think the connection goes down, and Zara and Hanish need to basically transport like a hard drive containing all the glitch data, like a jail drive with the glitches on it that were captured.
Yeah,
it has to be delivered to Hinobi, a Hinobi safe house, physically.
Yeah, that was mentioned in one of the animatics, right?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. The animatics are beautiful.
Yeah,
they're almost as good as watching an actual episode because the timing is so good and there's music and sound effects. Most of them are voiced by the cast, but there's a lot of stuff that's voiced by me because I had to do a lot of temp dialogue.
You had to do the scratch.
Yeah, I would record the scratch, but it was also because I wouldn't just fill in the lines. I would really try to fill in the energy we needed, or that I knew the actor would do or had done. Like maybe we had recorded it, but we hadn't processed the files yet. So I would always be trying to put the energy down. If you see any clips of the animatics with my voice, you'll hear that I'm like trying really hard to get the energy across.
I think
and that would really help the actors.
The Mobs and Minions animatic, when Miko's father talks to her when she's just jumped over the couch.
If you have that clip, you should show it so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I will edit that in. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that certainly was a lot to process. And you're saying that device on your arm can make me forget all of what's happened?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh. Well, you know what? You better just go ahead and, just do what you do, because I do not want to have to explain all of that to your mother. I just wish I could remember the part where you and I played together.
I can do you one better.
But what you just said just now lead me to a small question. Just how much memory space does a glitch take?
Oh, we never really said, and part of the reason I think, if you look closely, I think somebody referred to terabytes, or maybe even, I forget what the next delineation is.
It goes
We had them all.
terabytes, petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, and then yottabytes at the top.
I know we had exabytes listed somewhere, but yeah, we didn't fully commit. We just tried to show status bars and things like that. We wanted to put it somewhere in the realm of like believability that you might have an 8 terabyte hard drive at home, so 5 could have an 8 terabyte gauntlet. But we didn't want to marry ourselves in case like that made the show really dated, and it would be like today saying like, oh, there's a whole like 4 megabytes. Which was a big deal when I was a kid.
Yeah, I worked retail selling computers back starting in the late 1980s, and yeah, back then, I think it was said the memory when you got up to a megabyte of memory, you were considered you had a powerful machine back then. But to look at it now, when we have machines that go into gigabytes and terabytes in memory, it's like, wow. Yeah.
I can tell you that the size of a glitch really just depends on, its resolution and how much information is contained with it. Like, does it contain, vocal files, AI files, or is it just a skin? Is it just a skin file that got glitched? It really depends, like, what kind of file got glitched in the first place.
So the media matters.
The media definitely matters. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes,
Okay,
and the
yeah.
only that is that it takes one glitch text to capture most glitches, but when we had those giant glitches, it took like 2 teams.
Indeed. Speaking of which, 100 billion XP? That seems like a lot, even split between like 20 techs.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's where you just kind of like the visual is funny and everybody just laughs, and we have bigger things to worry about, so we just let the board artists do that and we move on. We're not always completely accurate with the points. Everybody really tries. Like, everyone would refer to each other's episodes and like be conscious of who gets what when. But that like slipped through as something we were like, okay, whatever, sure.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on to the next one, if that's okay. Alright, so is Shinobi
Yeah.
the only major entity that possesses crystal technology in the show, or is it possible that other companies, nations, or organizations also have access to it? I'm asking since we've only really seen just freelance modders running around with the tech, and it seems kind of hard to believe that there wouldn't be some slightly more organized groups out there.
Yeah, that'd be a huge problem for Hinobi if that were true. And that's something we definitely talk about. And right away you see that, somebody outside the company gets her hands on it. And Ridley is probably not the only person to have ever done that.
Alright, next one.
Okay, the next one is...
Microsoft created Windows, and a lot of other companies got their hands on Windows even before, the Windows system was published, so it's possible.
Alright, now here's a cool one. Could a glitch tech potentially dual-wield gauntlets, one on each arm, and have them work in tandem?
Definitely. Absolutely. And there would be very specific glitch weapons based on that.
Yeah.
That you could only conjure if you had 2 gauntlets, for sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely a Mitch move. And it's probably something that's completely unnecessary, but he would do it because he can, and he wants to show everyone he would, and he likes to go over the top.
Flex on it.
Yeah, just flexing on everybody.
I love Mitch so much. I love Mitch.
It just makes me wonder what kind of crazy combined armor designs would come of that. Like, combining tier 1 and 2.
Yep.
Okay.
We played a lot of Gmod in the office, or at least I did, and Gmod was really inspiring because you know it's a game platform that uses like
we know what Gmod is.
Unreal Engine, and I know you guys might, but you intend to have an audience, right?
Well,
Maybe a
Gmod is actually pretty popular. I've seen a lot of silly Team Fortress
never
2
mind.
animations made with it.
I was never on it.
I withdraw the question,
Just felt
Senator. I withdraw the question.
All right, let's move on. Move on to the next one. Okay, so here's one that's a little. It's a little. So, what would the consequences of a 100% memory wipe be on the target, user, or anybody else involved, like family or friends of the target?
Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. That would cause such brain damage that that person could literally be like lobotomized. And there are some ways of trying to restore memory blocks. Because when you delete memory in most programming, the memory actually doesn't completely go away. It's sort of, or its logic
I lost
pointers
you.
just ignore the data. But
Can,
it's still
can you
there.
repeat that? You cut out briefly.
So, in programming, a lot of times you don't actually have to delete memory. You just need to take the logic pointers of your game and just take whatever you want to remove out of the equation and just skip it so that the logic just them. It's like you're deleting a panel in your comic strip, right? But the panel is still there. It's just not connected to the memory anymore. So if you can realign those pointers, you can restore wiped memories. But if someone was wiped completely, that would be so dangerous that you could probably only unarchive so much that the person would probably have like real problems. It'd be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Mitch doing that, trying to set that thing to 100%. If he had connected with it, would that have been it for Miko, or if it hit 5s?
Well, we do have one of our animatics. We have a tech suffer a pretty big hit, and we try to deal with this a little bit. The answer is yes, but 100% for what Hinobi limits the gauntlet to do is not the same as us just saying it's gonna completely erase her entire brain. We just wanted it to feel very dramatic in the moment, but like the company would put a certain limit so that even 100% would not, completely lobotomize a human being.
So there are limiters in the gauntlets then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the follow-up question is, if Mitch fired that 100% wipe on Miko, would it have worked? Or would Miko have just blocked it out again?
I don't think it would have worked.
Okay. So completely immune then.
Alright, so next question, if you guys don't mind. Had Shinobi attempted to produce a glitch-free alternative to their Plixel processors? Because, that would certainly be in a long game, that would certainly be a cheaper solution than, having an entire organization of superpowered teams running around financially. I mean, think about how much money they have to shovel into something like that.
What's the suggestion alternative?
A glitch-free processor of some kind.
Oh yeah, they keep trying.
But it's just not working.
They certainly think they can. They certainly think they can, and they keep trying to fix it. They don't want there to be well, there are people at the company who don't want there to be glitches, and there's others that do.
Yeah, but I'm guessing solving the problem would leave the glitch techs out of work. Right?
Yeah, you just follow the logic. Like, yeah, there are a lot of reasons that some may want to keep the system they've got in place.
Okay, so here's another question that you probably might not be able to answer here. Obvious question. Why is Miko not affected by mind wipe beams? Was this planning to be revealed later on?
Yes, we have a couple reasons why, and one of them is shown in the pilot, and I'm surprised that so few people actually seem to notice it.
Was it due to that?
There's a reason, and
Was it due to that impact against the
Back
wall?
Your head to the back of the wall.
yeah, nobody for the first like 6 months, nobody even talked about that at all. I brought it up once in a live stream, and everybody's like, "Oh." Yes, that's one of the reasons, but that's only the chocolate. There's also some peanut butter in Miko that puts those things together to make the Reese's cup that is her
Immunity.
her ability. And I'll also say that as the show goes on, you find out that like you're gonna learn very quickly that Miko is not the only person in the world with this ability.
Okay.
I'm reminded of a
Makes sense.
I'm reminded of a term someone brought up one time. They said,
Absolutely,
our
that's
next
part of
question comes from
Also,
Diamond.
remember one thing.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Remember
my
one
question.
thing. It's
Oh.
really important. It's really important to remember that, you know, we believe that a mind wipe works 100% of the time. Like, why? Why do we believe that?
Everybody resets?
Who told us that? Who told us that?
The company did.
Yeah, it's in the manual. That's what they say.
Yeah, the manual.
Yep.
So whatever they say, we just sort of have to believe.
so it's kind
Because
of
a
like,
corporation would never lie to anybody.
Yeah, they wouldn't lie,
to make
right?
themselves look.
so it's like if
And again, they're not evil. They're just a company covering their ass.
So essentially, if the company said, "Yeah, well, the moon is made of green cheese, and it's in the manual, so it must be true."
Basically, yeah. I mean, this is a problem they have to really like lock up tight, and it really does work in so many situations, and most of the time, for their needs that they have, it's fine. But not everything is infallible, especially in programming.
Indeed.
This is true.
So,
Always a glitch.
so bottom line, there is an extra aspect, but for the most part, Miko impacting that wall is what crashed the mind wiping program and left her immune.
It interrupted it. It had an effect.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't somehow start up again and
Yeah.
leave her a ticking time bomb.
I'll hope. Let's hope.
We can't.
All right, so
Okay.
next question comes from Diamond. If you want to go ahead and ask that.
Question
I
154.
don't actually know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll do it.
Oh.
Don't
So,
listen under your name, but okay.
were there any other ideas for human characters to become antagonists instead of just being Monster of the Week glitches? Other than Ridley, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
I think I saw something like
It's
that.
a world that was very. If you look at each episode in order, like almost every episode is designed to grow the universe a little bigger each time. And one of the big expansions was to be in the, unproduced episode where we meet the character of Bunny, who is a human character who's very involved in the sort of like an underground mod scene.
Yeah, this menacing leader of the Blue Dryads. I saw the animatic.
Yeah, the Dryad. Such a great episode, which reunited Five and Casino, and also had Ridley in it, where Five basically has to recover his gauntlet data.
Okay.
Right, so
You
Awesome.
put that too, don't you? You should throw that
next
up.
one's yours, guys. That's yours.
Yeah. This is not exactly a question, but I'll just let this image do the talking. I'm gonna put it up when I edit it in. I think I have a prime suspect.
Yes. We can talk about Inspector 7.
Well, I guess you can't tell me whether or not I'm right.
Oh, you're right. It's pretty obvious. All the designs have leaked.
Like we've seen pictures of the production art for Barbara's turnaround and the turnaround for Bali.
We don't have Barbara's turnaround though. That's one of the things we don't have.
Well, I mean, I've seen images.
Well, the Bolipius turnaround is a Barbara turnaround, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty close, but not exact. But it's close enough.
No.
Yeah, there's enough of a similarity.
It's a variant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But the thing is,
actually related turnaround.
that became, I think, like this major story and reveal because it's all that we managed to get out there. But it was really intended just to be like a mystery that arced a couple of episodes, so that we would have like bigger stories every few episodes that kind of came together while you were having Monster of the Week. We never really intended it to be like the question of the show. But yes, and there's reasons, and we had boarded and completed the entire animatic for the Tex versus Bolipius, and it was so fun. And Betsy Sidaro, who plays Inspector 7, is amazing. And actually, it was because she came in for the pilot and was so awesome that we were like, oh, we're going to use her again, like, multiple times. We definitely wanted that to become a big character on the show.
She was awesome as Inspector 7.
Yeah, so good.
So I think we got one more high priority question, guys, and then we can move on to, like, to basically whatever we want.
Yeah. So, this is probably something I've already asked you, but do you still have access to any more of those turnaround model sheets or backgrounds that haven't been released by Portfolio's Twitter or otherwise? Including that map or those Dark Horse comic thingies.
I'm gonna look for the map. I don't have the Dark Horse stuff, but Eric probably has that archive somewhere. Those were just his personal mock-ups that he did when it was just him and me and nobody else, and we were pitching the show for the first time. We wanted to show Nickelodeon that like there was opportunity to spin the show off into like comics and games, and Eric doesn't like to just say those things, he likes to show them. So he created those as an example. He made these like huge poster-sized comics, and he put them in the conference room. It's awesome. Eric is like producing a show even when you're just meeting him for lunch. There's like art and there's music, and he's just such a he's a showman. I really love him.
Two of you, I mean, your track record speaks for itself. I mean, I remember when the first time I saw a commercial for Fanboy and Chum Chum, my initial reaction was, what is this? But then when I actually got a chance to sit down and actually watch some episodes, I was like, okay, whoever did this, they're geniuses.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, what the hell is this show? Because I hadn't seen it when I first started working with Eric, and I had to like check it out. And it is, of course, people feel many different ways about it because it's intentionally like just crazy and larger than life and like irritating, but Eric is so tuned into what it is to be like a little hyper kid, and taps into that in such a pure way that I think people who get it really get it, and other people are like, shut that kid up, get that kid out of here. But he is a genius because that was the first ever like squash and stretch comedy show done in 3D. They actually at the time said that you couldn't do it. You could only do like Jimmy Neutron or like a Paw Patrol type thing. You could never do squash and stretch back then. So he did it.
What year was that?
I don't remember the year that it premiered.
2009.
Yeah, it had to be in the
Remember
2000s.
alongside the SpongeBob Special Truth or Square.
If it came out in 2009, then they probably told him he couldn't do it back in, like, I want to say 2007 or 6.
Pretty sure some video
that
games
long
had
to do.
Squash and Stretch prior to that.
But nothing
Sure.
in 3D.
Actually, yes. Shadow the Hedgehog had it.
Not on television. At least nothing that Nickelodeon had ever done. They refused. They just were like, it's not possible.
Okay. Alright.
Yes, I'm sure Eric would point to those games and say, look, it's possible. And they would say, but that's a game. We're a show.
Alright, so I got a question.
They told
real
us we
quick.
couldn't do
Would it be
glitch
okay if I
checks,
ask one?
Huh?
Sure.
Would it be okay if I ask another question? Alright, so here's one. Just I'm not sure if it'll be good answer. Was Emilio Neves, 5 Debt, actually arrested for hacking? Or was this just a cover story for some more secretive reason? Did Hinobi have him in prison for doing something they didn't approve of, or was this work the result of? Or was it the work of
Hinobi did not imprison Five's father.
Alright, I guess that's a short one then. Here's another one. Why did Hinobi opt to make the glitch tech force largely of teens and even children? I mean, I think it's a pretty good, safe assumption to assume that, like, adults would be a little bit more effective at the job. Being bigger, stronger, faster, generally speaking. So
Have you ever handed your mom a game controller and asked her to beat the boss in Mortal Kombat?
Okay, that makes sense now.
Do you think you could do it?
I mean,
Maybe, but
to look
probably
at
not.
to look at it from the writer's standpoint, I mean,
They also work cheap. Kids
Yeah.
work cheap.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, from the from a writing standpoint, you want someone that has not just flexibility of the body, but you want them to have flexibility of the mind as well.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, kids are going to have a little bit more, like you show them the concept. Okay, we're going to give you this tech. You're going to go after this thing, and you're going to treat it like a video game. And it's like the kids will be like, "I'm with it. I'm down."
Yeah. We send kids
my
who are
God,
way
you
too
know-
young into the military all the time, so
Mm,
it's just, but the satirical answer is they work cheap and they don't ask a lot of questions and, because it's a show about teenagers.
And
Okay.
if you don't mind me lobbing one more, I'll hand it over to anyone else who wants to ask. And this is probably one you can answer pretty quickly. Why have Lexi and Nika not been reset yet?
Real quick
I
though,
just-
there are adult texts. There are adult texts. I just wanted to say that we were coming up on showing some of that as well. Just like there are adult employees that work at Best Buy, so you're definitely going to have adult texts. We just focus on kids because it's Nickelodeon.
kids just-
Yeah, there was that huge guy named Venkman.
Yes.
Okay, now go ahead, Survivor.
Alright, last one for me. So someone else will see. Why did Hinobi? Why have Nika? Okay, why have Lexi and Nika not been reset yet? I just assume someone would have figured out by now that they were like, cruising around with their sister, playing around with Pixel Tech, and was one that stopped. Did he just make an exception for her?
Yeah, well, and you clearly see Miko stops Five from doing it, and Miko's not going to do it. And I don't remember what other characters know that Lexi has been exposed to glitch tech.
I think
I may be forgetting.
I guess nobody noticed. I mean, the only person who could have noticed was Bergie, but he got mind wiped.
Right. Yeah, we
Yeah,
try to
'cause
cover
that's
that,
what
but
It
there
just
may
also
be
that-
holes. There may.
It could be maybe Phil's just also turning a blind eye.
Maybe some of those
I think
details.
texts do that for each other for sure.
Yeah, maybe some of these details could get
Like
ironed
I'm
out in.
McDonald's and I dropped something.
Yeah, maybe some of these finer details could be ironed out in some novelizations. Like, maybe something like, a tech was later dispatched to mind wipe such and so character of the events shown here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
That's a great way to deal with like plot holes or things that we just don't have time to look at in the regular show.
Okay, now here's a question
They make
about
great fan fiction.
tiers. No, not these kinds of tiers. Okay, here comes an image. So this is kind of like two questions in one. So I'm wondering what tier is Mitch late in season 2, because his armor looks pretty distinct from tier 2, and I made a custom render of Mitch in matching tier 2 gear.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember. I'd have to look at the original designs. And one thing that's unfortunate is that when we knew the show was getting canceled, we or paused. Now even I'm saying canceled, because I guess, like, what else do you call it at this point? But we had not shipped everything for animation, and we knew we had a couple great episodes in our second batch. We knew we had the Miko protecting her score episode with the dance sequence, which we loved, and we also had the Dabney Tech episode that introduced them for the first time. So we moved those 2 episodes up and made them part of, like, basically our season 1 drop. So there's inconsistency in the uniforms because of that. Episode that introduces the Dabney Techs was supposed to be the first episode of our second season. If we had aired on Nickelodeon, the last episode would have been Polypius, and the first episode of season 2 would have been the Dabney Techs.
All right.
And that season we were going to have new years. And
I'm losing you.
we would level our characters up with every season.
Okay.
Figured level up the characters with every season.
Now the question is, do the tiers go higher than 2 because of the different armor designs?
Yes, although I don't think we say what tier the Dabney Techs are. Like, I don't know if that's a tier 1 Dabney costume or not.
Yeah, it's the only.
They were all pros, so I assume.
Yeah, it's the only costume I've ever seen them in.
I assume they're higher.
Yeah.
That's all we have. So we never said what tier they were.
But
They're probably not
is
all the
there
same
a
tier,
Is
but
there
they're
a
so
maximum
good.
tier to reach? I mean, I see that there's
We
levels.
didn't set a maximum yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't figure that out yet. We knew there was a limit, but we just didn't set yet what it was because we didn't need to.
All right, I have a couple of
Again,
small,
that is really understandable.
I have a couple of small questions. First being, we did see at the end sequence of the pilot, I think there was a brief showing of a tech in a wheelchair, I think, or floating chair. Was there a plan in any of the future episodes of going forward past season 2 that you were going to eventually show a tech that had a visible disability? Whether that meant, they were confined to a wheelchair, or maybe they had, were blind and used Plixel Tech to help them see around the world. But I guess a better example, just to show by context, in the show Ruby, they introduced a character named Maria Caravelis, who had her eyes damaged during a fight one time, and she uses mechanical apparatus to be able to see around the world. So there's my, that's my base question. Were you going to show a disabled tech in the future?
The simple answer is yes. We have, I think in the Fives Gauntlet animatic where you meet Bunny, like Bunny's right-hand person uses ASL to speak, and we consulted with our friends at Dragon Prince about that because they had done a really good job of accurately explaining ASL. We also want to have, all kinds of like physical disabilities. We wanted to be a little bit more overt about our characters that were on the spectrum. More and more, we were starting to do that. Interestingly enough, one of the reasons that you don't see a lot of differently abled characters sometimes on a show is not the lack of wanting to do it, but so often it can be a real challenge. Like it can just be a real challenge to have a character that moves and operates very difficultly. Now for us, that's a challenge that we want to meet. Like, that's the kind of thing where Eric and I say, yes, that's a worthy challenge. But Glitch had so many other freaking challenges just to get off the ground that we decided, okay, that we would start doing that more once everybody got used to pixels and glitches and all this insanity we're throwing at them. Then we can start adding in techs that are different.
Speaking of which,
We wanted to do a left-handed tech, but doing a left-handed tech is a nightmare because the shots of the character with the gauntlet on the wrong arm would probably constantly come back from our quality assurance department as like incorrect, and you have to be like, no, that's the left-handed tech. It's okay. That one, the tech, it should be on the other arm, and it just creates like.
That was going to be my second question, because one of the things that
totally.
I've always felt, we've seen. I mean, I understand why most of the techs are right-handed. I mean, Gauntlet on the right hand because of animation, but I always felt not everybody is right-handed, or even for the question earlier about the dual-wielding gauntlets. Somebody who's ambidextrous who can use both at the same time. That was
For sure, and I love that you threw up the picture of Phil. Like, we originally conceived Phil as having a Plixel arm that we didn't know was Plixel tech at first, but it was a prosthetic. And we took it out because, again, it was just a little bit too complicated of a thing to track through every shot of every episode. Because you're already asking everybody to do such like intense work on these very conceptual visuals. So it's not like we just didn't want to try. We just had to really like kind of pick our battles and not overtax the crew and the animators. I mean, we did anyway.
Yeah, if the bird brain is anything to go by.
Oh my god, I love. She's amazing. She's amazing. Everything she talks about is so great. I wish that she was more fully immersed on the show as we went along, because we really could have used even more of her help. She's fantastic. Great stream to watch.
Yeah. But I imagine something even more of a nightmare than a left-handed tech would be a tech with cerebral palsy. I wonder how the gauntlet would be redesigned to account for that.
Yeah, that's a good example, and it's the kind of thing we would not shy away from doing, but it probably would be more of a cameo or a recurring character, and that's not because we want to marginalize this person, it's just because, it is a challenge for animation. Although, when you do that character enough, and you start to build assets, then after a few episodes, it's like, oh, now we can move them front and center, because we've over time, we've developed enough library material of this character that we can use them more. So that's kind of how we were hoping to do things.
Yeah, that's a lot of challenges that 3D animation wouldn't have presented. Because in 3D animation, you'd be able to just rig everything and just animate it the same way. In some cases.
We just couldn't afford to do this show. The amount of backgrounds and characters and everything on this show, we explored 3D early on, and it was just way too limited.
Yeah, I saw what the 3D looks like in that early 2015 trailer that leaked.
Yeah, Eric and I never wanted the show to be 3D, but Nickelodeon wanted to do some tests anyway, in general, and they used our show as a way of testing these companies, so that even if we didn't use them, they might use them for something else. That was the idea at the time. But our budget ate those tests up, which was very frustrating. So we paid for other shows' development, basically. So when people say the first season of Glitch Techs is over budget, it was not.
Okay, I'm going to have one last question, and I'm going to let Sky take the rest of the way. I have always felt, I saw the animatic for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Glitch Tech crossover. I thought it was friggin' awesome. But it's raised the question, would there have been any other properties, not necessarily Nickelodeon, but would there have been any other properties that you would have tried crossing Glitch Techs over because of a video game connection? in the story.
We definitely would have tried. Although we were only a little bit hesitant because by creating our own characters, we're building our own universe. The minute we start using outside characters, we then suddenly become limited to what those companies will let us do. But we love the idea of like cameos. So it's like, can we see Pikachu? Like, can we establish that Nintendo exists in this world? But those are hard questions to answer too. If we're seeing Pikachu, then how is Nintendo fitting in this world with this company that creates glitches? Like, how are they the same universe? And it was always a little bit of a headache to figure that out. But we would have. You know, if we had the opportunity, we would try. I had a feeling it was the kind of thing that would mostly be done in comic books.
Yeah.
Because, quite frankly, Nickelodeon Viacom does not want to do complicated deals with other IPs.
Yeah, it's always been in
They'd
my
be lazy.
experience where it comes to crossing over two different disparagent universes is you've got to have, well, number one, you've got to have the common impetus for bringing the two universes together. It just can't be, oh, all of a sudden, here's Pikachu and Glitchtex. No, there has to be a reason why the two met. And then the second thing is that there's always the problem with balance. You don't want one universe overshadowing the other too much, because then it's just a show, like you said, it's a show with, you know, a brief cameo.
That's what I love about the Ninja Turtle episode, is that you think it's like the Techs are going to meet the Turtles, but then you realize, oh, this isn't a world where the Turtles also exist. It's just that a Turtles game glitches, and so Turtle glitches are running around. And Five is like the biggest Ninja Turtle fan. He's like, he's fanning out, right? So that's a way of having them without putting them in our world. But at the end of that episode,
I thought it was the best twist
you were meant
ever
to see.
when I read it.
The very end, you were meant to see that basically a glitch ooze seeped into the sewers, and we just left it open-ended, like, oh, we can create a series of like glitch mutants, so we could have Ninja Turtles in our universe someday. You know, that was just a fun way. That stuff is really there to also just make fans happy and, you know, let you know that we want what you want. We just need to do it our way.
Well, as a fan of the original Eastman and Laird comics, when I heard that this was being done, I was like, oh, can we have it, please? And then found out later it was only done as far as an animatic. But seeing that animatic, I mean, yes, my 17-year-old fanboy just went, and gotta say,
I'm glad, and if fans can find it somewhere, I hope they can see it. I will say that for me, it's actually one of our weakest animatics, because our team was really exhausted, and that was our very first like attempt to get the story on paper. Usually we do at least 3 or 4 iterations, so it only would have gotten better because that was our process. By the time we would lock an episode, it would usually be like just amazing. But we always started with something good. That was like our rule, is like we want to begin it awesome and then get better from there, like by refining. And so it is awesome, but when I look at it, I'm like, oh, we wanted to do this and that, you know. But all I know is Kevin Eastman was so awesome. He loved the script so much, and he was like super complimentary, because he said, he's like, oh, I've never seen the characters used in this way. It's so interesting. This is like such a fresh take, and he thought it was really funny. And then we asked him to play Shredder, and he has a very nerdy voice, but we pitched him up and made him sound like really, really like a heavy villain, and it would have been so awesome to have him. So, you know, it's not unbelievable that we could still produce that someday. We hope that we can, but for now, fans will have to just go by on whatever they rummaged up from the internets.
Indeed. Okay, so this is going to be another question from me. We might be rolling into the final few right now. There's going to be a couple questions about
let's like
about armor and stuff. So here come some images.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all in for it.
So in the Collection Quest episode, we noticed that Miko ended up putting on her armor over casual clothes instead of the regular jumpsuit. What was up with that?
Well, as long as you have the gauntlet, it's not the uniform that creates the armor, it's the gauntlet. Everything originates from the gauntlet. The gauntlet creates the plixels that surround you. And you could argue that the uniform itself has those like little guide points that maybe like an AI would lock onto, like a motion cap, you know, to try to know how to hug the body perfectly, whereas her street clothes would not have that technology. Like, her clothes couldn't pair with the gauntlet, if you will.
Yeah, but every other
I would buy that if some.
Yeah, but every other time
You could call that a flaw.
Yeah, every other time it just replaced your clothes with the jumpsuit.
Yeah, the quick answer is that the gauntlet is supposed to be able to create skins, essentially, for its wearer. It knows the dimensions of the wearer, and it can just create skin projections, essentially. But because they're plixels, they're not projections. They're actually like a physical covering, right? It's like a suit. You could be a digital furry. So that's my answer. But it was also just something we weren't able to think too much about. It's definitely, if you want to call that like a flaw or a gaffe, then it's like, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
We try to explain these things. They're not always airtight.
Yeah, I guess that also ties into what the whole big, spectacular Henshin sequence was all about in episode 1. Basically the tech gauntlet initially calibrating what the armor was gonna look like and actually fit to the wearer.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, a lot of what you see in the first 2 or even 3 episodes is still kind of experimental, too, because we're still figuring the show out and bringing a lot of our ideas together. The thing that I always notice is that in the pilot, Mitch takes his gauntlet and he pulls it off and he throws it on the seat next to him.
Actually...
And we did that at the time because we wanted to show the character of Mitch as kind of like, he's over it. It's not special to him, you know, like, but looking back, we realized, oh, wait, we came up with the idea that the gauntlets themselves were made of plixels, I think around episode 2 or 3. Because we realized, A, that was so cool, and then B, we wouldn't have to show, like, that you needed your glove. You could just wear the watch and have it come out of the watch.
Yeah, but there's one problem. Mitch didn't actually take off his gauntlet right at the end of that cold open. It was something else he just put on the seat.
He threw the HCP core that he pulled out of that family's Hinobi 1 system.
At least we think that's what it was.
Oh, the core!
It had to be...
Oh, but didn't he put that in his... Wow, guys, so it's been 4 years, and this is the first time that I feel like, oh, I'm starting to forget a little bit. I thought he took the core, which was how we originally saw it as working. That, like, you'd basically get your CPU replaced by a glitch tech, you know, if something had gone wrong. We kind of dropped that idea because it was too limiting. But, Mitch was meant to have basically offloaded that into his gauntlet, and then taken the gauntlet off. And it's possible, I know it was the gauntlet, so it's possible that one of us actually fixed that and made it the processor instead of the gauntlet.
I actually just watched that cold opening last night because the novelization I was working on, I wanted to make sure that I had that scene down, and I watched it over, and yeah, he doesn't pull off his gauntlet. He takes the corrupted HCP core, tosses it onto the seat beside him, and then goes, like, I need a walkthrough.
Okay, we fixed it then. Yeah, well, it makes sense that of all the ones that I have a fuzzy memory on, it was the very first one, because that would have been 8 years ago that we were working on it. But it was the glove originally, and
yeah.
That must have been
maybe in an early animatic it was. I'd like to see more of those. Anyways,
we've put out quite a lot, but if there's stuff that people know about that they haven't seen, I mean, we could dig around, but we're just not allowed to drop that stuff ourselves. I think most of it people have picked up from like VFX reels and stuff like that.
Yeah, like me scouring the internet.
Like I
for the
said,
stuff.
Eric and I are fans. We're fans, and we want that stuff, and we want you to have that stuff. But the sad thing is, it doesn't belong to us. You know, like it's ours. We don't own it. Yeah, that's Hollywood.
Now, the second part of my armor question is those Daydream armors in Five's retelling of Episode 1 and Miko's Daydream in Episode 3. Were those intended to ever be used as official suits of armor for Glitch Techs, or are they just exclusive to Daydreams?
Yeah, originally they were designs for the next tier tech outfits. And we decided that we weren't going to use them, but then we realized, like, oh, because we were going to have techs be different tiers right away. And then we thought, well, it's a little complicated. Let's just keep everybody in the same basic uniforms.
At least for now.
Until you run into
And
the
then we thought, oh, it'd be funny that if Five's memory was like an exaggerated version of what we saw in the pilot, because he's just like remembering how awesome it was. And I think it was Eric who's like, oh, you know what? Let's use the suit. That's a way we can enjoy using that design.
Nerd's gonna nerd out.
And it's also out of respect to the person who designed it, who did such a cool job, and we didn't want to just throw it aside. We thought, like, oh, okay, we can use that design of theirs.
And I ultimately
We
ended
just
up...
try to be really conscious of the crew.
Yeah. And I ultimately ended up modeling the gauntlets depicted in those Daydreams. So, yay for me.
It's awesome.
I always felt that as the higher tier goes, I mean, this is just my theory crafting. I always felt that the higher the tier you go in your tech, that each glitch tech eventually will start to look something more like, you know, like what Miko has there in her Daydream thing. That eventually you start looking like something out of a show like Bubblegum Crisis, or you know, like maybe the Cyclones from Super Dimensional Fortress Macross, or I should say, no, that's not the right title.
I mean, you're right in that it could be, you know, it starts to get almost too complicated. This is a thing that would always happen with glitch techs, is our ideas would get bigger than the room we were in, and we would have to kind of pull it back in.
Scope
really
creep,
hard to
right?
do when you're super excited. But in theory, a tech should be able to like customize their armor to what they want it to be. I mean, maybe Hinobi wouldn't let you use other brand skins, but you know, character customization is such a huge part of gaming. We try to show a little bit of that in Animatic for the unproduced episode about Phil and his glitch avatar that he creates, because it's what he wants to look like versus who he is under there. And you know, so if Mitch wanted to, he could have a totally amazing thing. Oh, and that's why we had Nameless in Dabney Techs. Like,
Oh,
you see,
yes,
he's got that
Nameless.
faceless. Yeah, so we gave him that because we figured, okay, he wanted to customize himself, you know. But it gets pretty out of hand, and suddenly we become Ready Player One. You know, like everybody just looks like whatever the hell they want. But yeah, we would have tried to show that there's some customization options.
Yeah, speaking of Nameless...
Ridley would hack it, you know, Ridley would hack hers and do whatever she wanted.
Speaking of Nameless, an early script says his real name was Eleanort, right?
Yeah, Eleanort.
Alright, that's more questions
That's right.
answered. Woo!
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I think it was a dumb joke. I think the episode ended with like him telling Five, like, my real name's Eleanor, and Five's like, I'm just gonna call you Nameless or something like that. It was dumb. It was not worth the seconds it took up. But it was cute.
Okay. So...
That might be my favorite episode.
I think we're gonna.
One of mine. It's one of mine.
Huh?
Justice for Pancake.
For
Yeah.
Pancake MacGuffin or something. Okay, I think.
Monica Ray was playing so much Nico Atsume. I would say that Monica Ray had a lot of effect on the show because there are aspects of Monica that are actually Nico, but it's a much less exaggerated version. But she and other members of the crew, like whatever they were playing, whatever we were playing, it would get into the show. And I just remember like playing Tamagotchis with her and being obsessed with Nico Atsume, and that's where we came up with the idea of putting the cats in the show and that they should be 2D. God, that was so fun. It's one of my favorites. I always loved it when we could show how a glitch could be something different on our show than just like a monster on another show.
Yeah.
You could play with dimensions, they could be invisible and not even have skins on them. Stuff like that was so cool.
Yeah. I think you mentioned it.
Suddenly, I'm sorry. You just suddenly made me think of something. I know that for the most part, glitches are displayed in the show as essentially being monstrous constructs, and they're limited by their programming. Were you ever going to show a glitch actually showing intelligence to the extent that they were self-aware of themselves, and to the extent that maybe they wouldn't have actually been vile or villainous? They would actually have been like, just throw this out. A glitch comes to the glitch text because they escaped from a glitched environment and they want to help the NPCs in the environment because they were one themselves. Just give you.
That's a real fun. There's two parts to this. The second part is your story pitch, which is a really fun story pitch, and that's you could have fun talking about in the writer's room. The first part of your question, the answer is Polypius.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
The very first AI program created by Hinobi for chess.
I was about to say something, but what was it?
I'm sorry if I
Based
interrupted
on,
this guy.
Based on the first chess game. I can't remember the name of it right now. But
Polypius
the first
Chess.
PC game. Right.
Yeah. Zara mentioned it in the Mobs and Minions animatic.
Yep.
Okay.
So much good lore in those unreleased animatics.
Okay,
Episodes.
I got what I was about to say again. So, yeah, a while ago you did mention having a glitch from the original Final Fantasy VII and a Final Fantasy VII remake standing side by side with noticeably different poly counts. That would have been an interesting visual.
Yeah, we did have that on one of our cards on the wall, where you had different generations of a character. That would definitely be a fun way to show a glitch. We wanted to do what's the game where you roll up everything in a ball?
Katamari?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to do Katamari Damacy. We had in the episode Affection Gain, we also had a really charismatic glitch who's a villain that
Okay, so
Alright then.
we're probably gonna wind
I
up
just
real
found this.
soon. Oh, what's that? Oh, I think I've seen that before in one of the videos. It's a bit hard to see because of the
Yeah.
bit rate.
Robles made this out of construction paper and yarn. This was for the Glitch Text art show. It's like Mitch and me,
Right.
Yeah,
so fun.
I've definitely seen that one
Way too
before.
fun.
Hey, real quick, I got a real quick request before we get to the final question.
Okay,
Can
Go-
we get a bit Can we get a bit voice?
Of course. Yes, absolutely. What would you like Bit to say? Please enter your sentence now.
Alright, Scott, this is your moment.
my brain is empty. I
This
don't
is
know.
your moment.
Do you have
My
any
brain
ideas,
is
Survivor?
empty. I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
Let me think here for a moment.
Now
Yes.
computing.
Bits, play Scooby Toilet number 559.
Scooby Toilet number 959 coming up.
No! God, please, no! No!
I had an old 2XL toy robot as a kid, and that's my like slight homage to 2XL. There's a little of
That was really fun.
2XL
Thanks.
in it.
Yeah. Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
thanks for that, Dan. I'm sure the Glitchtex fans will really appreciate that, except for the Skibidi Toilet part.
No worry. Welcome to the
I was
Glitch
laughing-
Tech 4th
I was
year
so-
reunion.
I was so amused. I was going to say, Bit, could you say for the Alliance or for the Horde? Yeah, I kind of did tell myself that.
Jeez, I actually had set my mic up on mute because I was dying so bad.
Okay, so I think we're about to wind up soon.
Scooby Toilet would probably have been in Glitch Tech's, like, that would have been the name of somebody's, like, somebody's trash file or something like that.
There you go.
Wait, what was that? I missed that.
I'm saying that I can see Mitch or somebody actually using that to label his like trash files. Of course, we wouldn't have been able to air it.
Okay.
Sky, can I make a small suggestion if we're going to be winding down here soon?
Huh. Go ahead.
I think all of us here on the panel can let Dan know what their absolute favorite episode of the show was.
Out of all the ones that have been released?
Yeah, all of the ones that have been released.
Sure, why not?
Mythic Quest.
What?
It's called Mythic Quest. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. It's not bad. It's made by made and produced by some of the folks from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if I have to clarify.
Well, it's gotta
Alright.
be good then. It's still running, ain't it?
Okay. So, running down the list here.
I forget his Matt. Almost lined it. And I'll be back. For some reason, this is struggling. Computer's really mad I pasted this link. Okay,
Honestly,
there we go.
I don't think I can choose out of the 19 episodes that have released so far. Bit Prime is probably up there.
I'd agree.
I think mine's a running tie between the pet episode, where we actually get to see Fives get alpha, and the karate trainer episode.
God, I love them all so much.
That one in particular because of the fact that I love seeing the dynamic between Miko and her younger sister.
Yeah,
And plus, we got fighting
we,
games. I love those to death.
we love doing all the little different pair-ups, and you know, that's awesome.
We're at like 2:30 now. I think we should wind down. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Oh, please, as soon as possible.
Our hunger must be satisfied.
Thank you.
I mean, I'd be down for it again.
Yeah.
It's gonna be difficult for me.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and wind things down a little bit. So, yeah. I think that's gonna be it for now. Stay tuned in case we ever do anything more with Dan Milano, if he's up for it. But until then, this is gonna be Seeking the Sky for New Game Plus. Over and out. Say bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Too.
See you next time.
Goodbye.